Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. This is going to be a really choppy video today, so warning, right? I want to share with you guys today a great product by Lumary. I've worked with them in the past for some of their smart switches and smart, sockets. They've been around, I'd say, probably about 5-6 years now, if I remember correctly. And they were nice enough to reach out, and I'm really glad they did. Because I've been wanting to add some ceiling cans in my house or some recessed lighting for quite some time. My home does not have recessed lighting, which is crazy to me because most homes nowadays, they always go overkill on ceiling cans. And it sucks that I don't have many because one thing I always deal with, and you guys know as well, is lighting, right? Lighting is a real pain for me, and despite, granted, if I got a better camcorder, that would help, right? But, I don't want to do that. So I've been wanting to add some office cans for a while. I've been wanting to add some in my bedroom. I do have 2 downstairs. I've added some LifeX bulbs, so that definitely helps. But really, I mean, this is kind of a side note. For anybody who's self-contracting a home, in today's day and age, just kind of goes without saying, just more the merrier on the outlets, more the merrier on Cat 5 connections, more the merrier on outside connections, outside outlets, and definitely on ceiling cans or recessed lighting. You'll thank me for it because otherwise you're going to have a situation like me where my home's kind of dark, right? Granted, I can turn on a lot of lights, but there's nothing quite like ceiling cans. Again, your home, you may not want tons of bright light. Like, me, I like my mood lighting, as you can see by every single video. But there are times where I'm doing something or working on something and I want a lot of light and I just don't have it, right? So, especially with black lampshades, and again, you have to kind of decide with your decorating on whether you want something more for aesthetics, more for purpose, or kind of a balance between two. I like the black lampshades and more for the aesthetics, but they don't really, the lighting's not all that great out of them. So ceiling cans are a great way to get light into your house. So let's talk about the product now. So I don't have the product in the box. They are mounted. I'm just going to pop the camera up and show you guys. But these are them there. They call these gimbal lights, which I've never heard that term before. I've always called them just ceiling cans, but they're basically recessed lighting. So you get 4 of them in the box. I believe they're going for about $150. I'll put the link in description. They're always having sales and whatnot. Price will change depending on, time of day, time of month, all that stuff. So just click the link, check it out, read more about it. But here's the box. Just simple stuff. They have the model number, input voltage 100 to 130 VAC 60 Hertz. Wattage, these are 7-watt LED lights, so 7 times 4, 28 watts running, really minimal, super efficient. They are RGB and tunable white, so you have 2700 Kelvin temperature to 6500. That's going to be for your white light, so you can get that cool white. You have the full spectrum, cool white or warm white, and then you have the RGB colors. Whatever color you want to create, you can do so. And of course, they have 600 lumens each, and the beam angle is 26 degrees. So that's how they basically spread the light out. I would say these are kind of more in layman's terms, what we most think about when buying a bulb. We don't really think, well, what's the degree of that? We think of whether it's spotlight or floodlight. I'd say these are more spotlight. These kind of put more of a ring. I wish they were more flood, but in this setting, they work pretty well. They do have sort of a kind of a projector lens, so to speak. It's like a concave dome, and that kind of spreads light out. But I would say the beam pattern, if you look down on the ground, there is sort of I'd say about a 3-foot ring on an 8-foot ceiling. So there are a little more directional. So they're a little bit in between. I'd say they're more of like a hybrid spot versus flood. So a little bit in between. So these do have full rotation, which is pretty cool. You can mount these. I have them just kind of pointing right down, and I'll show you in a second. But you can direct them by just spinning the entire insert. So if I want to go ahead and, like for instance, we'll see these in a second with these lights in the ceiling here, I can actually adjust those to be shooting at the wall or shooting directly across the ceiling. So pretty cool. They give you a lot of adjustability. You may want to add these somewhere where, let's say in this office, I have 4. They gave me the 4-pack. I want maybe the top 2 kind of over my work area and then the other 2 kind of shooting, illuminating some of the art. You can do that. You can kind of highlight the corners. Pretty cool. They work pretty well for that. So I dig these lights. I'm hoping to collaborate with them on a couple different products they have and add some of those to the bedroom. They have some really interesting lights. I encourage you to check out their store. So let me just pop the camera up and I'll show you guys what we're working with here. You can see right there in the background, hopefully. There we go. All right. Yeah, you can see two of them there. So I'm just going to pop these on. They are available. You can control these with the Lumary app, which is pretty cool. The Lumary app works pretty well, but it's very, very similar to Smart Life. And what do I always say about Smart Life? A lot of the Chinese products are Smart Life compatible, which is great because most of my smart home products are through Smart Life. So I didn't want to have another app. They are compatible with the Google Home Assistant, the Amazon Assistant. I don't have them programmed for the voice control yet, but I can, which I need to do that. Where you can say, hey, turn on the cans, turn on whatever you may have named them. So I'm just going to turn them on right now. I have a group set, so you can see they just popped on. Right now I currently have them set to blue. So each one you'll have to set as an individual name. So I call them like gimbal 1 through 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can turn those on individually. I think this one here is number 2. I'll show you, maybe. Yeah, so number 2 turned off. I'll turn number 2 back on. Whoops. There we go, number 2 back on. But I have a group, so I just call them office cans. We all like those. Everybody likes cans, right? So, all right, so if I go into the actual group, then you can see, make sure there's nothing revealing here. You can see we have the color wheel, and I can change the color whatever I want, right over the red, down to green, and back to like blue. You can get kind of like that purplish blue, where the sky's the limit. If you want to go over to the actual whites, you can just kind of flip to the left there, and then we have the color and the intensity. So I'm just going to turn these all the way up, and you can see what a difference it makes, right? So this one's kind of shining right down over the top of me. Definitely illuminate the room a lot better than before. But you can also see. Let me just kind of point the camera down here a little bit. And you can hopefully see that there is sort of a, I'd say the diffusion's probably like about here is kind of like your hot spot. So about 3 feet on the hot spot. Let me change the color a little bit. This is like a real cool white, which I usually can't stand inside. And then more of a warmer neutral light. You know, again, if you're looking for something that's more of like a floodlight, these definitely have a little, they definitely diffuse out. But it depends on how many you have. I was originally going to put 2 in here and then 2 in my bedroom. And I just decided because they actually are more of like a, kind of a in-between, a spotlight and a flood. I wanted to kind of like, I think it would just look kind of weird to have maybe just 2 kind of spotlights on the floor, because I wasn't planning on like directing them at artwork on the wall. It just depends on your situation, so just kind of think about that. So adding 4 in this room, it really kind of diffuses the light pretty well, where I don't have kind of like these hot spots. Like if you look at the floor, I know you can't see it on the video, but we do have 4 hot spots, right? But they kind of bleed into one another, so it gives more of the appearance that they're floodlights, if that makes sense. But you can set, you know, your timers, you can set your scenes. They have some preset scenes in here where you can see I just changed it, and it's defaulted into like night mode, which is sort of like a, almost like a slight violet. You won't be able to really see this on the camera. You have your setting mode. You can set the power on behavior, which is something I really like. It allows you to decide how you want the light to act in a power failure. So whether that's the kid turns off the light switch, the girlfriend, whatever, you, or if you have a power failure. One thing I find really annoying about a lot of smart home tech, including LifeX bulbs, is that if you have a power failure, let's say you have to reboot your house, right? Or power goes out. Let's say you're gone. Power's out, comes back on. Those lights default to staying on, and they're on all day until you actually go in and turn them off, which is kind of annoying, right? I like these because you can set the power off state. So let's say I lose power, they will stay, they will go back to the state they were. So if in the middle of the night I have these on, power goes off, they come back to on. If it's the middle of the day, power goes off, they'll stay off. So that's a really nice feature. You can set that. There's also a power on behavior setting that's do not disturb. It says here 2 consecutive physical power on switches to turn the lights to turn on the lights instead of 1. So I haven't messed with that. What I believe that means is you can actually turn on the switch. In order for you to turn them on, you might just flip it on once, right? And let's say the power it's set for, let's just say during nighttime, right? You have them on, or let's just say nighttime, you have them off, right? You walk into a room, it'll actually, let's say you don't want to go to the app, I believe you can turn it off, on again. It'll actually turn the lights on. So you still have sort of some function with the switch, one thing that annoys me about smart home tech, and I always recommend when folks are getting, even if you're like, oh, I don't want, Amazon, or, we won't say their names, the Google product, the Amazon Assistant, we don't want them listening to us, right, all the time. Well, I get that, or we don't need to use our voice to turn on lights. I get that, but I do recommend somebody always get one of those things if they're going to add smart home tech, because remember, once you have smart switches, and not switches, but smart lights, the switch always has to stay on. So the light is always on, right? It may not be using as much energy as being on as far as illuminating something, but it's always on, and in order for you to turn a light on, you have to go into your phone. Sometimes you just want to walk into a room and turn on a light. So I don't want to pull out my phone, open up the app, for me to think about, all right, which app do I use for this? And then go in there, turn it on. Maybe you have to unlock your phone first. So it's kind of a process, right? We all like just being able to flip on a switch. Again, for those situations, I recommend just getting a smart wall switch, having standard lights. But with, there's a lot of cool factor with this too. So I like the ability to be able to just turn the light on by the switch and not have to worry about like, oh, did I reset it? I believe to reset these, you have to turn them on like on, off like 5 or 6 times. So I like the fact they put that feature in there, and I'll have to mess with it a little bit more. But as far as the status on, you have initial mode, restore memory, and customize. So in a power failure, or you turn off the lights, you can set it to just default to like, hey, I like the color red. Oh, I had them white before, let me go back to red. Turn them off, turn them on, and now they're red. So you can set like the default customized brightness, light intensity, or you can just have the initial mode. And initial mode is initial default color and brightness. And again, I use the restore mode, the last used color and brightness. So that's pretty cool. What else? I'm just going to go back to, music scene. So that's kind of cool. So watch, I'll start this. So now it's basically changing the color and the speed based on my voice. I'm going to stop talking for a second. And I'm going to start talking again. And so they're basically using the phone microphone to pick up my voice or whatever you may have playing and start kind of a light show. I dig this because I like to have a lot of fun, and I find lights are pretty cool, right? If I'm listening to like a Pink Floyd concert, I love having the lights going with it. It kind of brings you into the atmosphere, kind of into the moment. Some lasers. You may not be as immature as me, but I dig that stuff, so I think that's a pretty cool feature to have. I like that. But for purpose of video, let me just go back to the dimmer setting here. So now we're back up to white light. So pretty awesome lights. I'm not sure if I can actually zoom in enough for you to see what they look like installed. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. You can kind of see there. Well, yeah. So there's really no... Sorry. Whoa, buddy. Hang on a second here. So you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. Now, I do encourage you, as far as installation is concerned, I do encourage you to get a stud finder. Now, I'm not new to doing work around the house. I know how to do things. I know how to do a lot of things. Unfortunately, I left my stud finder at work, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to tap the ceiling. It's not the best way of doing it. So take it from me. I actually used a 4-inch hole saw for these, what you're going to use. Again, if you're not handy, hire an electrician. I basically tapped into an existing outlet. I ran some Romex cable up to a switch, ran the switch into another ceiling box, and then I wired up each one kind of in a daisy chain pattern. Now, using the 4-inch hole saw. You'll have to get a 4-inch hole saw, Home Depot, Amazon. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. Just put it on a drill, cut a hole in the sheetrock. Easy to mount them, right? Wiring's a pain in the butt. Again, full disclaimer, like, if you're not an electrician, hire somebody. If you don't feel comfortable, hire somebody. You take full responsibility in installing something like this. And don't do it like I did in the middle of summertime in the attic. It's extremely dangerous. So anyway, getting back to measuring, you're going to have to kind of decide how you want to mount these in the room. I'm not going to get all involved in that, but when I drilled the first hole with the hole saw, I got 3 of them done. It went to the 4th, and I hit a stud. So I'm like, damn it. So I said, all right, well, there's no way if I move 4 inches to the right, I'm going to hit another stud. I hit another stud. So they put double studs in for whatever reason. But anyway, so that's, now I had 2 holes to fill, which I did. I just have to sand. But anyway, accidents happen. I should have just, waited, but I was too impatient. But these are really cool. I think, again, if you want to add some lighting in your house, these are an awesome way of doing it. Only downside to getting something like this is that, let's just say down the road, you have a light burn out, something happens, nothing lasts forever. With a standard ceiling can, you can just unscrew a bulb, put a new bulb in, whether that's an RGB smart bulb, whatever you want to use. With these, I got 4 in here, so if one burns out, I'm going to have to get one specifically from the manufacturer. You hope they'll still make them. You hope they'll be in business. Otherwise, if that does happen, you may have to replace all 4. So, but LEDs are fantastic. I can wholeheartedly state, everyone, knock on wood, every LED screw-in bulb that I've had for the last, I'd say, almost 10 years, I've never had one burn out. Now watch the little burnout, but they've been super reliable. When they state that LEDs they last 10 years. Inside a home, I put a lot of faith in that. Outside the house, LED string lights, stuff that's outside, more subjected to the elements, the temperature extremes. That does affect electronics, so you may not get the same lifespan. I've had to replace many just inexpensive, basic LED bulbs outside. With inside, it's been really reliable. So just kind of keep that in mind. That I like whenever anybody kind of buys a product through my videos, I kind of like to give them as much information as possible, just on a consumer standpoint, on a do-it-yourselfer standpoint. These are kind of things you may not think about. I know that if something happens with these, if I lose one, I may have to buy 4, right? If they're not making them anymore, because you don't want to have mixed match lights, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. Other than that, fantastic product. I'm super happy with them. There's something to be said about having RGBs in the ceiling when you compare them to like having them in lamps like I have them behind us. Yeah, they work, but it's really just a different effect they have, the way they illuminate the room. Plus, I will also state that if you're kind of like, oh, I want floodlight, I would give these a go, honestly, because you get the best of both worlds. What I dig is like when you have them on at night, you have sort of like that kind of hot spot on the floor, and I don't know, it just kind of adds to the effect for me. If it's just a floodlight, it's just a big blue room, right? With this, I feel like I'm more like in a nightclub or something. So again, you may not be looking for that. I think it's pretty cool. I like the way they look. I'm super happy with them. So again, links in the description. Check them out. If I can help you guys in any way, let me know. I want to thank Lumary for their generosity. And stay tuned. They have another set of lights which are awesome. They have like this kind of RGB ring. I'm really hoping to get my hands on those for, we'll maybe put them downstairs or the bedroom, probably the bedroom. So again, if I can help in any way, let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic day and take care.